Okay, this is video log 12 times 21:32. Do I have to do this now? Like, I really need to get some rag.
No, now.
Afternoon.
When it's fresh.
This one's
Okay,
called
location,
Stalemate.
shack.
Because that's what I'm
The days are starting to blur together.
It's like in chess when there's nothing that you can do.
The language is a pain.
It's actually what I've been in
but,
for about 3
You know, I figure it's like field stripping a weapon.
years, and
Repetition,
basically
repetition.
every single thing that I assumed would happen happened exactly because I'm involuntarily, against my will, being subjected to some type of
Theory calls me
religious
scoundrel.
/ pharmaceutical.
It means moron.
Slash governmental
Norm's attitude has improved lately.
bureaucratic
But it's not just
experiment
I'm
that
seeing you
is
in front of
completely
me. It's,
illegal.
I see
under
into
all
you. I see
Good, he's back on board. But
and
he thinks I'm a scoundrel
has
too.
fizzled down.
So you gotta get this,
the most
okay?
ridiculous concept in the world where not one
feet are getting
individual
tougher.
that has claimed anything
I can run
about me
farther every day.
has anything to stand on, nor have they even
I have to trust my body to know what to do.
And I guess I'm at a stage now where my voluntary decision to explain this offensive action has now run its course. I can't be fucked anymore.
Every day it's reading the
I'm not gonna
trails,
I'm not
the
gonna
tracks of the
participate in a
waterhole,
one-sided
tiniest scents and sounds.
defensive action against people that, in my mind, are already incriminated by their lack of action.
She's always going on about the flow of
West
energy,
Australian government, my
spirits of
ex-partner,
animals.
my mother, my own mother,
Really hope
her
this
partner,
tree hugger crap isn't on the phone.
This isn't just about you need to listen to what she says.
As a whole
Try to see the
monolithic
forest
structure and religious
through her
doctrine
eyes.
that
Excuse me,
spans around
this is
the
my
world.
video log here.
You failed to respond. So basically, I'm now going to prioritise my recovery from this ridiculous acquisition. It's ridiculous and illegal.
With that theory, it's learn fast or die.
And I'm going to do what I believe I have the right to do, and I'm going to take a stroll in Australia. I'm going to pack a bag and take a stroll. I don't know how long I'm going to go for. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to completely disconnect from your fucking absolutely ridiculous fucking system that is being
How do you create
prioritized
tension?
for the
How do you build
most
character?
debaucherous,
How do you even decide what to write about?
destructive element, and has absolutely no one in government or education or military
I know you're
or
out
anything
there.
prioritizing
I can
the
feel you now.
foundation
I know that you're
fundamental
afraid.
elements.
You're afraid of us. You're afraid of
civilization.
change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
I told Moab to letting Grace into the village. It was the first time since her school was closed down.
Oh, no, you don't. Come back here. Bon appetit.
Well-being or anything. We are stuck inside a automated system designed and curated by robots, built with finances extracted from this system and then perpetuated by threat and coercion, utilizing the most extreme hypnotic digital interventions and, basically 360-degree encirclement of almost every single citizen in Australia, hence it being declared as a digital concentration. Claim that it isn't, people have already started, which means it is, which means that, naughty. But yeah, it's too much brain power for me to keep up this one-sided 7-dimensional chess game with entities that I am still not even certain even are aware that I exist. So basically, because all of this arrangement has taken place in this place, and then failed to respond to this place. It's contained to the digital world. So that was flashed. Suggestion to the Kingdom of Tasmania to purchase all the physical currencies on the opposite side of that. She's an Aboriginal bloke, right?
All energy is on
the Southern Cross. So I'll have one of them with me, and that will pay my fare home, I suppose. And as a matter of things like, I should say, the only valid, because this is
Don't go to this one. And the same one goes to that. These are here for a reason. These are the monuments of my family's improvements that were made to this land. If you haven't committed equally to this land and you are slandering individuals from a period that you clearly don't understand, then please stop. The story of colonisation, of mass atrocity of traditional people is 10,000 years old. It ended here. It didn't start here. And this wasn't the only place that it was done. And the one thing about Tasmania that I can tell you from coming from Western Australia, coming back home from Western Australia, is that unlike Western Australia, half of this island remains almost pristine. Half of a tiny little island. Almost pristine. Any single person could go and live exactly as the Aboriginal people live. Including Aboriginal people, including anyone. But they're not. And there's a reason for that. And it took me a long time to understand it. I was critical, the same as you are. But it's fucking ridiculously hard to live that way. And I know from experience how hard it is. So unless you wish to go and plant 10 bazillion trees and live out there and fund your own everything, your own every single thing, your own water supply, your own food supply, your own money, don't even start with money, you're nowhere near money. Money didn't exist. So unless you're there, please don't criticise the end of a 10,000 year human evolution and blame the people that actually shifted it. It was underneath their structures that this argument was even contemplated to be brought into the public sphere, into public dialogue. And there are huge actions, maybe not enough, I don't know, being undertaken to right historic wrongs. But my ancestors are not footing the bill for 10,000 years of humanity. So unless you find yourself in a very small population that is actually a traditional owner, please keep your political fucking vandalism off the streets of Hobart. Fucking completely on guard when they start removing statues and start asking themselves what exactly they've done. It gives them permission to remove a fucking statue. How many buildings have they made? How many fucking evil people or organisations have they removed from this land? What exactly have you done to give yourself authority to remove a statue? I would love to know. This is not fucking city, this is not fucking country, this is not fucking state. Before one fucking statue, one more statue is removed, every single person on the committee should present material sufficient to authorise them to make any changes to this location. You'll notice I have almost 7,000 posts to try and bring awareness to this fucking dystopian fucking land that is swept through and has attempted to invade us. The reason we have very large stone structures that take thousands and thousands and thousands of man-hours to erect is so that this kind of shit doesn't fucking happen. So if you got yourself together, somehow pushed some paperwork through, somehow managed to bully and fucking coerce everyone here, far worse than this bloke did in the modern day, because every single misstep, every single bit of attention you're not putting to homelessness, you're not putting to real issues, you're not putting to the gambling and the drinking and the drugs and everything else, you're killing far more people than this guy did. So don't fucking confuse yourselves. This country belongs to the Crown. This state belongs to the people of the state. It was established under order by the British Empire. Never, ever, ever forget it.
Who were the Druid?
Always be fucking completely. I'm gonna use my paddleboard, but I can't, so I'm gonna have to leave my guitar on the chair there. For the baby, there's husband, father, and builder for the last 5 centuries. I reckon there's some slate playing there. Anyone the guitar to learn, it's a pretty good one. Yeah, I'll leave that.
Time when the nations of Western Europe
I'll leave that just
discovered
there.
the presence of the ancient Greeks.
Well,
In these accounts, the Druids are presented as
what happens when you
strain of
have a
pre-Roman
complete
sophistication amongst their
failure
respective people.
of security in a
In time, this image
international
less
scene,
sympathetic authors
in
presented them as a sign of pre-Christian barbarity,
Australia,
devoted to idol worship, human
within the federal government of Australia. Well,
By the 18th century,
you get a big fine and you get shut down.
Soon the image of the Druid.
Last time walking out of this place, there's only one song that I'd
In this line
play.
they were portrayed as simple, but noble philosophers. Images increasingly mixed up.
Thanks for the free parking.
The record burgeoning field of archaeology inhabitants and humans, with objects that we now know to date from wildly different periods from the inhabitants' stereotypical beliefs and Druids. This image was distorted further by their identification with great historical sites, France, and association with places such as Stonehenge and the system of popular consciousness to this day. These ideas about the Druids endured well into the modern period, and it was not until the arrival of 20th century archaeology that their stereotypical image was put to rest. We now know that sites such as Stonehenge date from many thousands of years before the first account of the Druid, and that there is far from definitive archaeological evidence that they existed at all. Even so, their impact on popular culture has remained. Today many thousands of self-described Druids gather to celebrate the solstices, Stonehenge, and the monuments of Britain and France. New Druidic organisations were in membership of both Europe and North America. So who were these? Did they really exist in Britain at all? And did they resemble the descriptions given to them by authors such as Caesar? If so, what were their suggestions? Have they become anything to their beliefs or modern organisations? Well, if we are to try and answer any of these questions, we must examine four major sources of evidence, each of which carries their own set of caveats. The first is the accounts of classical writers, dating roughly from the 8th century BC to the end of the Secondly, we must examine the archaeological records of Iron Age societies across Britain and Gaul, and see what they can tell us of native religious practices. Thirdly, we must examine the tales of the Irish mythological cycles. These accounts ostensibly portray a pre-Christian Ireland, where the Druids feature as key players, acting as the magicians and advisors of the pagan kings of Munster, Connacht, Leinster, and I knew the right one. Finally, we must examine the practices and techniques operating in this place, examine the favourite secret begins along the fringes of the Mediterranean that takes us through the world of Ireland, Britain, Gaul, and France, before finally ending in modern Europe. Lots of little victories take on the pain. It takes so long to let us begin. In this video, we'll examine the first two of these sources, both of which contains the Iron Age Druids of Britain and Gaul. We'll start by examining the earliest accounts of Western Europe, which come to us from an era when Greek colonies were thriving along the shores of Gaul and Hispania. From there, we'll examine the accounts of the Druids from the era of Roman expansion north of the Alps, through to the time of Roman domination of both Gaul and Britain. Lastly, we'll examine the Christian accounts of the late Roman Empire,
When some con men come along, you must flip it,
territories.
and they con
We'll then move to examine the known
everyone,
archaeological
you
record
must flip
of the
it.
modern constituent countries
Oh, I
of Gaul
almost called
and
it
Britain, and determine whether any correlations can be drawn between known Iron Age religious practices and the writings of contemporary authors. Before we can dive into these accounts, however, we must first mention a handicap that has blighted the attempts of scholars to and as a result, no known native written account has come down to us detailed. Moreover, there are good reasons to suspect that there was a prescription amongst the Druids against writing these down. Instead, we are forced to rely on the observations of foreign authors, many of whom are less than complimentary in their presentation of Druidic teachings. Even then, our selection is limited. If we tally up all the known references to Druids amongst the peoples of Greece and Rome, we arrive at a total of around 20 accounts, with their authors being dispersed widely across the world. Many of these accounts come down to us as fragments, surviving only as references in the works of authors writing many centuries later. In a few extreme cases, the presence of these earlier authors can only be attested to through passages found in the works of these later writers, whilst in one sense, credited authors writing false. In the length, notes in this book, were the necessary combined texts we have available to us on the Druids is captain of the villagers of pages, providing they are written in a fairly long print. Yet despite their brevity and the highly summarized nature of many of these accounts, though I have not provided substantial description of supposed Druidic activities, Gaul, and Britain, along with wider information on the Iron Age society within these regions. These works are characterized by general agreement on the Druid's role, acting as both a philosophical and religious class in British and Gaulish society. When we stop to examine their fine details, however, we discover an increasing number of contradictions. In some accounts, the Druids are presented as a organisation that gathered in a single location and served a single leader. In others, they appear as only the most prominent of several groups of religious functionaries in Gaulish society. In order to reconcile the contradictions in these accounts, modern scholars have sought to place them into three broad categories.
Good. There's an Aboriginal bloke, right? Under the Southern Cross. So I'll have one of them with me, and that will pay my fare home, I suppose. And as a matter of things like, I should say, the only valid, because this is obviously a defensive action against my own West Australian state government. The only organisation that may cause trouble to my property is the Gingin Shire. I'm not going to enter the Gingin Shire until I'm given written explanation as to the accusations involving corruption and conspiracy onto my mentally ill mother, to do with her carer / boyfriend and, the people that initiate my removal from the town. And since my property is there, it is held in trust of the British Empire and the Crown and the collective legacy of my family's occupancy in Australia and on Australian soil and in British soil, and so unless you want to start a war, I'd suggest you don't fucking enter that property under any circumstances. And if you do need to speak to anyone relating to any of these things, you could speak to my mother or her carer / boyfriend if there's any maintenance or anything like that. I suppose I give permission for them to maintain the lawns or whatever, the front, whatever that is, to keep it tidy. That's the only circumstances that there is anyone granted permission to enter that property until this is sorted out. You have to sort this out. You cannot leave it like this. Is fucking ridiculous. There are billions and billions of contracts, taking place on these networks, on these platforms with this infrastructure every day. And with the level of defence, the level of opposition that I've applied here is far above and beyond what should have been necessary under these circumstances. So you are trying to harass me out of the state, out of the town, out of the shire, out of the things, using the most technical and disgusting fucking concepts that you are recklessly thrusting on everyone, and I am not going to sit there and allow that to go unheard and unseen around the world. You are out of your depth. You always have been. And this is now going to drag the fuck out for a long time. Okay? So if any single person enters that property, unless they are simply there to mow the lawn or keep whatever upkeep so that you can pretend that you all live in a fucking tidy town, they will be hunted down and fucking murdered in cold blood by the British fucking Empire. Do you understand that? Does that all make sense? Is this chain of command absolutely fucking crystal clear? on what the accusations are and how you all collectively doing this is not a fucking good strategy. Yeah, it's not a good strategy for 5 minutes, for 5 days, for 5 weeks, for 5 months, and it's certainly, absolutely, astronomically, catastrophically impaired the strategy over a 5-year period.
No.
It's getting near 5 years.
I can understand that.
So the freehold ownership value of that property that is constantly being, supposedly affected by this out-of-control hyperinflation will now and forever always be enough to cover whatever hideous fucking rates, land tax fucking expenses you wish to apply to that property. So in perpetuity, I stand in defense against this out-of-control digital fucking tsunami that is attempted to be thrust upon the young people of this country. So I would suggest, if you have a problem, you could contact my next of kin, Riley Graham Wise. He has no ability to do anything on the property, to purchase it, to sell it, to declare my death, or do any of these things. He's the executor, on behalf of my word, on behalf of his grandfather's estate, which I am still the caretaker of, in negotiations with 180 years of Australian history. So I suggest you all start doing your fucking homework, yeah? Because I'm going to take a long walk. I'm going to have a really clear head at the end of this walk. I'm going to put a lot of thought into things specifically to do with this, and I'm going to
Well, I hope to the, I'm guessing young kids maybe that have nicked me paddleboard. I hope you enjoy it. It was actually my children's paddleboard, and I guess I thought it was safe, but obviously not. But I didn't really secure it. But thank you for leaving my bodyboard, because without this thing, this took me years to find the right board, and by the looks of it, you haven't fucking ransacked all my which I'm glad, and you also haven't taken my blanket. Well, I hope to the I'm guessing. Very cold. So.
To stop defending other things that have come into my purview via my 24/7, exposure to global events. And I will remind you that my voluntary defence of Australia has taken place unpaid and under duress and under direct fire.
These accounts are by far the most obscure,
So,
existing mostly as excerpts and quotations from the works of later authors. The second school of writers
You've all
consists
got
of
to work
accounts
out
of
what
the
that
Druids,
means.
beginning with the initial Roman expansion into Gaul, continuing until their
Does that declare it's not only being put in prison, but it's being ignored and expected to provide that defence, unpaid and actually under attack by its very own citizens. Yeah? It's a very strange predicament that you should all get above, above and beyond prepared to face in a legal court just as soon as I get back.
On the 4th century.
So that's all been done while holding, valid currency. I'll leave it here. There's $2 to pay for the stamp or whatever. If I pay for the stamp, I'll leave it here with me, and my current bill is now this collection of our
Western Europe during the closing
I think $2 will cover the stamp, cost of the stamp. Whatever type of thing you think you're sitting on, it's like you've really made a mess. All of you together. It's a generational mistake. Okay? And so we need a generational solution And I will remind you all that your generation is getting older by the fucking second, by the minute, and definitely by the
This
fucking
resurgence
day.
was marked by the reappearance
I
of the
have a
Dark
little
City
bit of
state,
time.
and the
I'm
series
already
of
very, very
colonies
pissed
throughout
off at
the
the amount of
Western
time I've had to
Mediterranean.
contribute to this defensive action.
By the
Unpaid.
mid-8th century BC,
And I will not hesitate about liquidating that property completely, leaving it, you know what I mean, and then presenting my argument to whatever region wishes to hear about the disgraceful acts. The Australian government of West Australia expects its citizens to do. As I've declared it before, Western Australia, the most expensive long-term parking in the history of mankind. You know, you park your car here by mistake, which means your property, you park your money or whatever, it's like, prepare to pay the largest, most expensive. I was like, what's it costing for 3 children, you know, hours, 16 plus hours a day of work, defence, really expensive parking.
I don't want that unpredictable lunatic
one of
working
these
my casino.
first recorded
If you're worried, you know, you throw around things like insolvency and stuff,
Get my
that
razor,
property
throw it
covers
back.
all the expenses on that
Get these
property.
peanuts
Built in
bucks
trust
off my
for
feet.
father's
echoed
name,
by a late
and I'm
5th century
decreeing that
BC
I'm still
writer,
entrusted with that.
Herodotus.
And in order to be,
In
you
his
know,
text,
the
The
appropriate
Histories,
steward of that, I
he
need
provides
to
a similar
disconnect
description of the
myself from
western
this
reaches
digital
of the
concentration
Mediterranean,
camp / digital
claiming that the
casino.
Celts were
Get
amongst
some
the
fresh
westernmost
Australian air
peoples
in
of
my
Europe.
lungs for a little while. You know, walk our fine beaches and stare at the fucking beautiful Southern Cross in the sky, unimpeded by fucking smog or light pollution from this hideous encampment that I find myself in currently. You know, perhaps then I will then possess the calm mind,
If you had
the steady resolve that
One
it will
shot.
take in order to continue my legal
One
defense
opportunity.
of that estate
seize everything you ever wanted,
of my father, Graham
One
Sidney
moment.
Arthur White. Thank you.
did you capture it? Just let it slip. Yo. Look, if you had one shot, one opportunity, seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, did you capture it? Just let it slip. Yo. Look, if you had one shot,
Peoples
one
of Europe,
opportunity,
and that they dwelled beyond the
seize
pillars of
everything you ever
Hercules,
wanted,
now known as the Straits
One
of
moment.
Gibraltar.
did you
Whilst these
capture it?
accounts give us our first glimpse
Just
of
let
the
it slip.
peoples of Western
Yo.
Europe, they contain no substantial descriptions of these societies, and no information can be gleaned from them regarding the presence of any religious elite. To the best of our knowledge, it would take another century for such an account to emerge. This work, a treatise known as On the Hyperboreans, was penned around the end of the 4th century BC by Scott.
Meta's AI. Crazy. Amazing. Like, it's scary, but it's exciting. And the only point I'm actually trying to make is that we should listen now optimized to have a 1-to-1 scale device. To talk to me what happens. Example of what I just did on Mars.
By a scholar also named Hecataeus, this time hailing from the city of Abdera in Thrace. Whilst this account is also lost, an excerpt from it can still be found in the work of the 1st century BC Greek author Theodorus of Sicily. In this fragment, Hecataeus details an island supposedly found beyond the lands of the Celts, inhabited by a people known as the Hyperboreans. This island, which he claimed lay beyond the point where the north wind blows, was said to have had a temple behind it, and to be home to a spherical temple to a god Hecataeus equated with the Greek deity Apollo. He goes on to describe this temple as being adorned with a large number of votive offerings, and states that the locals would worship their god with the recital of praise hymns and lyre playing. The inhabitants of Hyperborea are further said to operate on a 19-year cycle, supposedly based on the period it took for the stars to return to the same place in the heavens. The end of this period would be marked by the appearance of their god within his temple, an event that they would celebrate with more lyre playing and ritual dancing. This fragment marks the first mention of any form of priesthood or temple attributed to Atlantic Europe, along with any description of celestial worship. Intriguing as this account is, the exact location it refers to cannot be determined from the text, and as we will soon discuss, there are good reasons to doubt its accuracy. For a more certain reference to religious practices amongst these peoples, we must turn instead to the accounts of 3 other authors. The first is that of the 4th century BC philosopher Sopater, whose work survives as a fragment in the account of the late 2nd century AD author Athenaeus. In his account, Sopater relates that it is the custom of the Celts to sacrifice prisoners captured in battle to their gods, implying that this takes the form of ritual burning. The second account is that of the early 3rd century BC author Timaeus. In an excerpt from his lost works related to us by Theodorus, he states that the Celtic peoples living on the shores of the Mediterranean venerated the twin gods known as the Diaspora, and held the ancient tradition that these gods came to them across the ocean. Our third account is that of the otherwise obscure Eudoxius of Rhodes in the late 3rd century BC, who states that the Gauls would respond to invasions of their land by swarms of locusts, by offering prayers and sacrifices, which would in turn attract flocks of birds to destroy the locusts. Eudoxius also tells us that the punishment for any man who captured one of these birds had to be death, or else the birds would not respond if called upon once again. You return to your barbaric rites and sinister ways. You alone know the ways of the gods and powers of heaven, or perhaps you don't know at all. You who dwell in dark and remote forest groves, you say that the dead do not seek the silent realm of Erebus, or the pale peak of Pluto, but the same soul lives again in another world, and death, your songs are true, is but the middle of a long life. In addition to his passages on Druid, He also provides a description of a forest grove encountered by Caesar during his siege of the Greek city of Massalotes during his war with Pompey. Quote, "There stood a grove which from the earliest time no hand of man had dared to violate. Hidden from the sun, its chill recesses, matted boughs entwined, prisoned the air within. No sylvan nymphs here found a home, nor can, but savage rites and barbarous worship, altars horrible on massive stones create. Sacred with blood of men is every tree. If faith be given to ancient myth, no flowers ever dared to rest upon its branches, and no beast has made his lair beneath. No tempest falls, nor lightnings flash upon it from the cloud. Stagnant the air unmoving, yet the leaves filled with mysterious trembling, drip the streams from coal-black fountains. Effigies of gods rude, scarcely fashioned from some fallen trunk, held the mid-space, and pallid with decay, their rotting shapes struck terror. Thus do men dread most the god unknown." It is the next author, however, that provides the most enduring association with forests and plants, and who also provides much of the iconic imagery associated with the Druids today. It belongs to Pliny the Elder, who provides a detailed description of Druidic herbology and medical practices in his book on natural history. In it he outlines a ritual practiced by the Druids for the harvesting of mistletoe from oak trees, which he asserts were held in a special reverence by the Gauls. Here he claims that the Druid would only harvest this sacred plant on the 6th day of the lunar cycle, and that its collection was marked by the holding of sacred meals and the sacrifice of 2 white bulls. It is also here that we see the first mention of the iconic white robes and golden sickle that would so shape modern depictions of the Druids. These items are mentioned only in passing, comprising the ritual attire and implements of the Druid trusted with harvesting the mistletoe. Pliny then goes on to claim that the Druids would use this plant to create a special drink, asserting in mocking fashion they believed it would cure infertility in livestock. The same white robes make one more appearance, as the attire worn during the harvesting of another plant, Talago, which is described as only being gathered using a person's right hand, which must first be passed through the robe's left sleeve, as if the plant had been stolen. According to Pliny, the Druids held that saliva could be used to ward off all dangers, and that its smoke could be used for the treatment of eye disease. Pliny's account stands out perhaps more than any other amongst these Roman authors. Unlike Caesar, Strabo, or Diodorus, it is not concerned with wider Gallic society, nor does it mention the Vates or the Bards. So unique is its description of Druidic practices that we can only guess as to its source. Perhaps due to its unusual nature and the authority of its author, it ranks alongside that of Caesar as the account of the Druids most commonly presented. Its influence is seen most keenly in 18th and 19th century depictions of the Druid, few of which could be found without either the white robes, golden sickle, or mistletoe. Then, just as suddenly as these items appear, they disappear once more, going unmentioned in the accounts of any other author. Even stranger is the next section of Pliny's account. After wrapping up his description of Druidic practices by describing their use of the marsh plant Simolus to treat cattle diseases, he quickly moves to a description of a peculiar object held in veneration by the Gauls. Quote, "In the summer months, a vast number of snakes will gather themselves together in a ball, which is held together by their saliva and the secretion from their bodies. The Druids say they produce this egg-like object called an anguinum, which the hissing snakes throw up into the air. It must be caught, so they say, in a cloak before it hits the ground." Pliny goes on to state that this object could only be gathered during a specific phase of the moon, and even claims to have seen one of these eggs himself, which he describes as a small apple-sized ball with a hard surface full of indentations. If we are to believe his account, these objects were held in veneration by the Druids. who claimed it would aid in lawsuits and in gaining the goodwill of the reader. Pliny goes on to mock this assertion by relating the account of the man of the Gaulish Conti tribe, who hid one in his cloak during his trial before the Roman Emperor Claudius, only to be executed when it was discovered. No other author mentions these eggs, leaving us at a loss as to Pliny's source. In addition to these associations with woodland and remote places, the accounts of 1st and 2nd century AD authors are also marked by an increased hostility towards the Druids. It is in these accounts that we see details of repressive measures being brought against their order by the Romans. Both Pliny and Lucan provide pronouncements of Druidic practices in their respective works, with Pliny stating that their barbaric rites were found within Gaul even during his lifetime. He goes on to say that the continuing existence of these led the Roman emperor of the time, Tiberius, to pass a decree outlawing the Druids, along with what is termed these types of diviners and physicians. He closes by stating the following, quote, "But at least we can be glad that the Romans have wiped out the murderous cults of the Druids, who fought human sacrifice and ritual cannibalism with the greatest kind of piety." This outlawing is corroborated in the work of the early 2nd century AD author Suetonius. In his biographies of the first 12 Roman emperors, he claims that membership amongst the Druids had initially been forbidden to Roman citizens by the Emperor Augustus, though in direct contradiction of Pliny, he places the final responsibility for their destruction on the Emperor Claudius, who he claims destroyed the horrible and inhuman religion of the Gauls.
It's like chess when there's nothing to do. It's actually what I've been in for about 3 years, and basically every single thing that I assumed would happen happened exactly because I'm involuntarily, against my will, being subjected to some type of religious / pharmaceutical / governmental bureaucratic experiment that is completely illegal under all international law and has fizzled down to the most ridiculous concept in the world, where not one individual that has claimed anything about me has anything to stand on, nor have they even attempted to stand on anything. And I guess I'm at a stage now where my voluntary decision to explain this defensive action has now run its course. I can't be fucked anymore.
I think you should try this strain.
You know, I'm not going to participate in a one-sided
You got anything else?
defensive
Okay,
action
how
against
about this
people that,
one?
you know, in my mind
Your
are
face looks
already
like
incriminated
potato.
by their lack of action
It's
in anything,
sativa.
by their lack of
I
response.
think that kind gives
This
me
is
a
the West
headache.
Australian
You
government,
wanna
my
try some?
ex-partner, my
mom
children's
was
mother,
impregnated
my own mother,
by
her
an alien,
partner,
and now the Pentagon's finally doing it.
and the pharmaceutical industry, the pharmaceutical profession as a whole monolithic structure and religious doctrine that spans around the world, you've failed to respond.
This radio station was named
And
Audio
so
Slave.
basically, I'm now going to prioritize my recovery from this ridiculous
Speed means freedom of the soul.
Of the Gaulish Druids.
inquisition.
Between them, these
Ridiculous and illegal inquisition.
later authors
And
paint a
I'm going
picture of an
to
organisation
do what
in
I
terminal
believe I have
decline.
the right to do. And I'm
From
going
Mellor and Lucan, we first hear of the Association of Druidic Practice.
in Australia. I'm going to pack a bag and take a stroll. I don't know how long I'm going to be for. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to completely disconnect from your fucking absolutely ridiculous practices.
In the writings of Caesar,
that is
the
being
Druids and their
prioritised
practices are presented
most
without their comments,
watchers,
and both Strabo and Diodorus know that
element,
most of their
and it has absolutely no one in government or education or military or anything prioritising the foundational fundamental elements of human civilization or productivity or well-being or anything. We are stuck inside a automated system designed and curated by robots, built with finances extracted from version utilizing the most extreme hypnotic digital interventions, basically 360 degrees encirclement of almost every single citizen in Australia, hence it being declared as a digital But yeah, it's too much brain power for me to keep up with this one-sided seven-dimensional chess game with entities that I am still not even certain even are aware that I exist. So basically, because all of this invasion has taken place in this place, and then it's failed to respond to this place, it's contained. Suggestion to the Kingdom of Tasmania to purchase all the physical currency, which on the opposite side of that is an Aboriginal bloke, right? Under the Southern Cross. So I'll have one of them with me and have to pay my fare home, I suppose. And as a matter of things like, I should say the only valid, because this is the only organisation that may cause trouble to my property is the Gingin Shire. I'm not going to enter the Gingin Shire until I'm given written explanation as to the accusations involving corruption and conspiracy onto my mentally ill mother, to do with her carer / boyfriend and the people that initiate my removal from the town. Since my property is there, it is held in trust of the British Empire and the Crown. Collective legacy of my family's occupancy in Australian and on Australian soil and in British soil. So unless you want to start a war, I would suggest you don't fucking enter that property under any circumstances. And if you do need to speak to anyone relating to any of these things, you can speak to my mother or her carer / boyfriend if there's any maintenance or anything like that. I suppose I give permission to them to maintain the lawns or whatever, the front, whatever that is, to keep it tidy. That's the only circumstances that there is anyone granted permission to enter that property. Until this is sorted out. You have to sort this out. You cannot leave it like this is fucking ridiculous. There are billions and billions of contracts taking place on these networks, these platforms with this infrastructure every day. And the level of defence, the level of opposition that I've applied here is far above.
She starts playing with the matches regardless, and then imagine. Maybe shut the fuck up a little bit. I love you guys. Just a little bit. So then imagine you're 7 years old, alright? You're 7 years old and you're in this story, she plays with the matches, and then in the next frame, she is burning, yeah? Her entire dress is burning, yeah? Her skin is burning, her hair is burning, and she's screaming in excruciating pain, yeah? And then she dies, okay. She's a little pile of ashes, so that is the end of the story. Well, most American stories have somewhat of a happy ending, and also there's a 3-act structure in America, where like somebody has a goal, there's an obstacle they have to overcome, and then they overcome it and they're transformed in the process. In Germany, every story structure is a kid has orders from their parents, does not follow the orders, and dies. Okay, that's everything. Germany, we don't have Disney, we have Struwwelpeter. So you know what it is? So Struwwelpeter.
Drive my body with the
Good. Half.
On the cloud afternoon, emptiness by a freeway. I confess I was lost in.
I've never had any fight experience, any fight training, but when Russell Crowe agrees to play the trainer and says, Dan, it's your turn to back you into the lead in this film, I started training. So 3 years of MMA, of boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, put on about 10 kilos worth of muscle to at least sort of look the part, and then had to sort of inhabit the energy of a lifelong fighter.
Mate, you are in shape, to put it mildly. You quite literally put your body on the...
And on my deathbed, I will pray to the gods and the angels I could pay down to anyone who will take me to heaven, to a place.
I'm here in the nutrition center in South Sudan, witnessing children weak from illness and hunger, fighting their way back to life. And I see that. Yes. Small enough.
Yeah, you're from Germany? And what car do you drive?
I drive a BMW.
BMW! How do you pronounce the German car brands? Do you say to Americans, hey, I drive a BMW?
BDSM. I do not want to be involved in...
There is a lot of made-up theology began in the middle of the 19th century. It got really going in the beginning of the 20th century, particularly in America. That has created this very strange theology of what unbelieving Jewish people are, non-Christian Jewish people, and their special relationship with God. It's very strange.
I just wanted to make them better. Turns out that laughter had this therapeutic effect that also connected people together.
I don't even know how you walk around with those big gorilla balls hanging between your legs.
You know, I just tape them to my legs, so.
Yeah, and I help.
Six, I'd like to do a little bit more recon before we go knocking on doors and stepping on IEDs.
One, I want you to listen to whatever this guy says.
How copy?
Can I take your laundry, sir?
The enlisted must be careful. It could be a penis. Small drop of the homosexual variety. One wrong move could change the enlisted sexual preference forever.
Have I ever told you who my favorite is here? Look, if you're gonna suck my cock, pull this through just box.
I'll be quick, Daddy. Those guys
No one cares about the full story. No one will deny it.